Hi. Time for the weekly video. Which first of all, it's sort of a continuation of last week. Um, that I have a new supervisor who is quite young and has borderline personality disorder. Um, Appears that I've won her over, and how I did this. I mean, it was a work situation. I Let me tell you, it's not a good situation. It's not a great situation, but it is a situation. How I won her over was by listening to her, and because she did attempt an intervention. Apparently, she's done it with literally everyone. Um, and in it, basically, she wanted to feel more welcomed, and she wanted to quote hear my stories. Now, granted, um, I have a lot of stories. I've lived a long life, especially compared to her. I've done quite a few things that most people haven't done. And she just felt like I would be able to talk to other people and not to her. And she just wanted to be in the loop and in the middle. And, I mean, I can talk clearly, but this girl can talk. And that's what she's doing. Apparently, when she's not talking, like doing her job or talking to a coworker, she's got FaceTime open and is talking to somebody else. I mean, she wants to either be hearing or speaking herself 24 hours of the day. It's wild. But um, in thinking about this, because I have a feeling that she thinks we're besties now, and we are not. Um, I'm thinking about it. Is I've talked a lot about how, as a person with avoidant personality disorder, um, you can interact with people without interacting personally. Um, and thinking about it, first of all, I know I never really described what I'm talking about, like step by step, do this. And also, I don't know I articulated it that well. I just sort of brushed it off like, oh, you should know. And I just think that's kind of a place where I've fallen down. So, the point of this video is to explain how it's possible to have conversations with people and still keep them at a distance. Because it, of course, is very important to somebody with avoidant personality disorder is that you're sort of not giving yourself away and not talking about yourself for whatever reason, if it's a security thing or if it's you just don't think that you've got a self-esteem issue where you don't think that what you would talk about when you're talking about yourself is sort of worthy. Um, anyway, for whatever the reason, if you need to have distance when you talk to somebody, let's go. I'm going to tell you how to do this. So first of all, um, is make sure that you have physical distance, and I'm talking like, okay, because if you're close to somebody and you're having a conversation, I mean, you might think, okay, that's the way to go is to sort of get close to them and talk quietly. The problem with that is it comes off as having somebody that's having an intimate conversation with somebody. That it's like a close friend type conversation. First of all, you might make somebody else feel awkward, but also they might feel like you're trying to be better friends than you actually are, and that's bad. So if you are literally physically like an arm's length away at least, and you're talking louder, it will not come off as a secret. And then whatever you're talking about, you won't sort of in their mind jump, and I mean, we're talking like maybe subconsciously. I don't know that they would like consciously think, oh, this person is trying to keep me at arm's length, literally at arm's length. But that's the effect. So if you're closer and you're softer when you're speaking to somebody, they're going to think that you're trying to be a closer friend than you really are. The other thing is, I mean, you can tell, I'm sure, from when I'm making these videos, any form of eye contact is kind of difficult for somebody who is introverted, which most people who have avoidant personality disorder either are straight up introverted or they've become introverted and have taken on introverted patterns. I mean, basically, for all intents and purposes, whether or not you would diagnostically, um, hit those guidelines if you have avoidant personality disorder because of how you interact with people. Um, so, eye contact is difficult. Here's the thing with eye contact: when you're talking with somebody, don't look down when you're talking to them. Don't look down. That makes you seem sort of shy and sad, and it's going to make things awkward. Instead, because again, super awkward is maintaining eye contact, and probably the other person is going to be looking at you and looking at your eyes when you're talking. When you're telling your story, look around you at eye level. Look left and right at eye level. Um, if there's anything that you can do to describe, like for instance, if you're talking about, oh, there was this other person, well, look over as if you're looking at the other person. If you are describing something physical, like there was a building, you like look up as if you're looking at the building, and it's sort of like a pantomime. It will become more automatic as you do it. And basically, it's going to keep you from having to look somebody in the eye. And yet, you're going to be very dynamic. It's not going to be awkward, like, oh, I'm just looking down at the ground while I'm talking, or I'm going to stare at this other person while I'm talking to you. No, it's going to basically make you sort of a dynamic storyteller. Now, that's how to do it. Now, the process of telling stories, first of all, it's a good idea to have some stories. And they don't have to be original stories. You can even talk about like the weather. I know it's terrible, but if you're just saying, oh, it's hot outside, that's not going to work. When you talk about the weather, talk about the extremes. Like, this is such a gorgeous day after so many days of bad weather or something like that. I mean, this is the bottom of the barrel. This is where you start, okay? Or this is, if somebody was trying to talk to you about something, this is a way to redirect them, have them talk about, oh my goodness, I loved having the walk this afternoon or something like that. Although, oh nope, that would be actually going too far, and saying, oh, this was great walking weather, and avoid the word I. Let me, if I'm going to give you an example, let me give you a good example. Um, and that's what you're doing. Anything else, if you can contribute to a conversation where you're giving them factual information. Like, obviously, you don't want to lecture them, but you can say, they're talking about um, driving into work and there's construction or something like that. Instead of saying, well, when I drove into work, I went this way, you can say, oh, well, there's this other way. There's this other road that's kind of a shortcut, and maybe that would be helpful if you decided to take a look into that way or something like that. But you're not saying this is the way I went, because that will feel creepy to yourself if you're saying, oh my goodness, I'm just doxed myself. I just dub myself in. I said, oh, I go this way when I come to work or something like that. That will make you feel awkward and like you're telling on yourself. No. Um, when you are telling stories about yourself, avoid talking about your feelings about whatever you're, just describe it. I mean, I travel quite a lot. So, you know, when I travel to whatever city or something, I mean, like I was just in Australia, for example. Sorry, I don't mean to be like sort of bragging. This is just fact. And I'm trying to come up with a real thing. I mean, what I talk about is I went to the cities and they're like, oh, was it great? And I was like, I really like the cities. I wish I had been able to spend more time in the countryside. Um, but the way my trip happened, and then actually, believe it or not, then I go talking about the weather because I had a weather delay. Um, but in that statement, other than the I wish I had done this differently, which is still basically a statement of fact. I haven't said my opinion about which city I went to. Well, I have my opinion about what the country is like, my opinion about the people there, my opinion about anything, my opinion about traveling. Like I said, if you listen, I just said I travel a lot. I didn't say I love to travel or something like that. Do you see the difference? Um, I feel like I'm not coming across in this video like I want to, so I'm sorry. If it's not making sense, let me know, and I can like respond. I don't want to say I'm going to respond to comments because I haven't been doing that lately. I've been trying to do what I can do as far as this channel and keep it going, and mm, but maybe in the future I can do like a part 2 video or something like that if it's not making a whole lot of sense. But literally, that's what I'm talking about, is just the facts. And try to avoid the word I. Try to avoid how you feel about things. I mean, this is terrible to say this, but what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about your friends. I'm not talking about somebody that you want to, become closer in your life. I'm talking about people that you are basically forced to interact with. Now, I mean, it's conceivable that you could use this as a stepping stone and become friends with somebody. That'd be great. But in the meantime, if you're trying to maintain a relationship with somebody, but you just don't have the bandwidth to have a best buddy or a friend, this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you can have communication that will come off to them as satisfying. That they are not going to be like, what's up with that person? Because they're going to hear stories, but they're really very surface. If they won't come off as surface. If you're talking about, this is an experience you had as just the facts, they're going to think that you are sort of confiding, but you won't be. So you will be protecting yourself, but coming off as somebody that is friendly, and that will get you where you need to be. So this would be like a work situation. This would be somebody who is sort of, what comes to mind is the word related, but that's not, I don't mean, well, maybe these are your like in-laws or something like that. Maybe these are people that are related to family members or somebody that you're spending time with, or like their work situation or something like that, where you have to not be awkward. So if you are, yeah, I know this is another weird trick, but it works. If you're trying to sort of keep up with the, oh, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm not going to use the word I, and I'm going to describe it, and it's like going through your head, that sort of distracts you from the sort of process of having to interact with somebody. And so that little bit of distraction, of distance, makes it easier to communicate. And so you can communicate with people that you don't want to have as close allies. Um, but they, again, they're going to think that you are buddies. Like, okay, what, I mean, that's what people will call acquaintances as opposed to friends. That's how you make these acquaintance relationships, is doing that. So I hope that made sense. I tried very hard to sort of to come up with a step-by-step plan. I thought about it to try to help. And I don't know, this might be like the most obvious thing you've ever heard in your life, or it might be that you never really sat and thought about it. And the thing is that this is also very much like my style of how I interact with people. And I think I interact with people with this sort of screen between myself and the other person, and it makes it able for me to interact with them when, if I was really like, I'm going to put like all myself out there, there's no way I could interact with these people. And I mean, I'm really aware that when I'm doing this, it's very different from people who would know like all of me, and that it is, they call it masking in the um, autism community and probably other communities. um, I am aware of this, but the thing is, if I'm actively trying to create the mask by limiting what I'm talking about to facts about things I experienced with none of my personal opinions on it, then it makes it easier, and it's a good distraction and like a buffer between myself and the other person, and then I can interact with them easier. And that's basically how I do it, because I know that I've had people say, wow, you really are out there in the world way more than most, maybe, avoidance. I might be on one end of the bell curve, but this is why. This is what I came up with. This is what I do. This is what you could do too. Anyway.